the founder of Theranos, earlier this week got sentenced for 11 and a half years, served in prison.
I'm just saying, if you're a billionaire and driving old Corolla, there's something wrong with you.
Just couldn't leave, even if they wanted to, because they want to keep their job and legal status in the U.S. Last time we talked a lot about FTX.
Yeah.
And I think it progressed a lot since then.
I don't think it really moved much.
Yeah.
Like, nothing really changed. So he scammed a bunch of people. There's more and more speculations. There's more and more accusations going his way. We know more about how things went inside FTX, where it was registered, who said what, but when it comes to like what's gonna happen, nothing really changed.
I feel like there is a lot of news on what was going wrong at FTX and what fraud or types of fraud he was committing along the way. But with flavors, all that stuff related to his girlfriend and I guess the overall company's corporate culture and how they celebrated certain things when they were going for retreats. But yeah, overall I agree. Like, he's not arrested yet. He's not in jail. He is still in Bahamas. Good thing he didn't flee anywhere, I guess, with billions of dollars. But
well, if he's in Bahamas, I don't think he actually in Bahamas. I think I saw reports that he's flying to Argentina.
Yeah, which were fake reports, allegedly.
Were they? Okay.
Yeah. He was going to go there, but then... Or I don't know if he was going to go there, but yeah, people are saying that
Is there extradition from
private
Bahamas?
Plane was... I think it's just... Well, he used to run company out of there. So
I
think it's just from tax standpoint, it was a way better location to be.
And from regulation, because there's no resources to regulate. I mean, probably, I don't know how big are Bahamas, but probably the revenue of FTX was bigger than GDP of Bahamas.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so...
They'd probably buy the whole island.
So that's the thing, is like they couldn't regulate him, possibly. And it's kind of a red flag, kind of. I don't know. Like, it's a financial engineering tactic to be registered in Bahamas. But if you're trying to build a platform... See, with crypto, it's kind of part of the philosophy of crypto to be decentralized, to be located out of wherever you want to be located at, and still be able to participate in the global markets. That's kind of a... like ideology of crypto people. So I think it is a red flag, but it is kind of fine that he was in Bahamas.
Because he was building or working in the crypto industry.
Yeah.
But if you look at the winning kind of exchange, like crypto exchanges, I don't know, make an example of Coinbase and
Coinbase
Binance.
Is San Francisco, I think.
Yeah, I think they're headquartered in SF. But both of these big exchanges, they're willing to work with regulators. I think both of them realize that you can't be, fully, or try to be fully like anarchic or independent, right? You have to play rules of this game.
Yeah, and the thing with FTX, he was the most proactive in that sense. So I don't know if it's... So what CZ was saying, I think, was that he tried to jump ahead of it and make regulation that suits him and not the industry. And that's why he dumped a bunch of coins. So, I don't know.
I think he tried to lobby the government, right?
Super hard.
Against
and
Binance.
I think it came out that his parents connected him with one of the senators, I think, or somebody on the committee. And so that's how he got his political connections, and then he was the top two
donors for the Democratic Party.
It's
$40 million.
Ridiculous. And he was. I saw that he was also lobbying for some crazy stuff in San Francisco, like stuff that didn't make any sense.
In terms of related to crypto?
No, in terms of, I think, real estate. And so, I mean, it's probably one of those deals where you give us money for this issue and we have you covered on this, and like shady political stuff.
Yeah.
So
There was also an interesting there was a leak of messages from between SBF and I think one of the Washington Post reporters. And SBF was talking there about the perception and reality, and how like all the biggest companies that made it and all the biggest people that made it, not necessarily they were clean, right? It's just that the perception that they build around them and how people perceive them made them like heroes rather than I don't know, fraudulent or people that commit fraud. And I think he was trying to do the same thing, but didn't work out.
yeah, I don't know. Well, to be fair, if whatever trades he were making with Alameda Research, and allegedly he was doing it with customers' funds.
Yep.
If those were successful trades, we would never find out, probably. And even if somebody would come out with accusations of fraud, I mean, would probably never be discovered and stuff.
Yeah.
So
there is a fine line between being like a genius in making it and being like irresponsible person. I think even within startups, it happens a lot as well. When founders try to taking enormous risks, and if that risk pays off, then there'll be a genius founder that made it, and investors are happy and like everyone's happy. But if it doesn't work out and the company goes under, then it's like, oh, it was an uncalculated decision that you made, too much risk, like you shouldn't have done that, and blah blah. So there's always a fine line between
but
these two
taking
outcomes.
customer funds and gambling them on crypto, it's a no-go from whatever. Like it's fraud.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway,
especially at such a huge
any
size of the company.
scale. If you're taking customers' funds from your exchange and doing gambling
Something
with them,
else.
it's
But if you think about it, like when you deposit money into your bank, right, it doesn't just sit there. Yeah, it's way less risky, but they use your funds as well.
It is different, and they are allowed to do it by law. And there's also like structure and regulation that works in their favor. So, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing. And the bank can go under too, but
then they'll be bailed out if they're too big.
Yep. Nobody's bailing out FTX, fortunately, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out about Sam, and I still wonder, like, was it I mean, if he took customer funds, it is fraud, and there's no excuse for that. I wonder if he's set out to do fraud from the get-go or not. Because he even claimed like, oh, I'm gonna make billions of dollars and give it all away. And it's kind of like...
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's like at this point, it's like, what are you trying to do? Like, I don't know. Like all of this, like, it's just Bernie Madoff was pretty much saying the same thing, right? Like that he's gonna cure world hunger, whatever. And in Russia, there were like same pyramids, and they were like, oh, everybody can make money now, and we found a new wonder of the world. And in the end, they were frauds. And I think also FTX was giving some on your deposits, they were giving you a percentage.
Like if you're staking your FTT.
I don't even know. Yeah, maybe if you're staking your FTT, they would give you some percentage on your other stuff or something like that. So that's, again, back to like Luna and Terra failing back in April or something.
I
Kind of
think it's
smells like that.
I think it's also due to the fact that they control basically the supply of their coin, right? And then they artificially could print, well, release more or issue more coins, issue more supply, increase the supply, and then get like a real dollars again, a loan of real dollars against the newly supplied money.
Mm-hmm.
So you pretty much like print money in that case.
Which is fine, I guess, because with the stock you can do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, you don't.
the stock is at least with the stock you provide the part of the company and dilute other investors. At least that's, I mean,
Yeah.
with this you dilute other investors too. It's just it's not backed by the company shares.
You mean you're talking about the coin?
The coin,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's not backed by the shares. Yeah, but it's because the demand was high for the
Mhm.
coin, and I think they had a certain. I think they only sold 10% of whatever they printed, and they control like the 90% of it.
Mhm.
So they could sell more and more of it, and yeah.
Yeah, so it's not quite like a stock because stock at least you get some ownership. Yeah, it's all a big mess. People lost like hundreds
Billions
of
of dollars.
thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, cumulatively, they lost billions and billions of dollars, which is insane. Like,
No, yeah, and I think it'll definitely be interesting to see how this all rolls out. Again, he's not arrested yet, right? There is like an ongoing investigation, but on another note, Elizabeth Holmes,
which
the founder of Theranos, earlier this week got sentenced for 11 and a half years, served in prison, but this case is a little bit different because it didn't affect consumers too much, right? Because Theranos was still developing their product. She was mostly sentenced for like the wire fraud and for providing, for misinforming her investors, all of that's, that kind of stuff. But the main, I would say, victims of what she did were investors rather than
I'm not
the
sure
actual
about that.
consumers.
Didn't they actually run
I think they
those
did.
tests?
I think they did run it with like at Walgreens and somewhere else. They've made a couple of, not a couple of. They ran it for some time, but it wasn't like the scale of it wasn't as
Yeah,
big
but
as
it could
as
be
of-
very crucial. Like, one thing you lose your money, other thing is whatever is going on with your health,
and you
and you get the wrong test and it shows the wrong data. That can lead to a lot of things. So
yeah. But if you look at, and I agree with you, but if you look at what she got sentenced for, it's mostly for the financial financial fraud.
And also the situation with Sam Bankman doesn't really help with the Kanye stuff. Like, Kanye is running around saying that the Jews are cause of all evil, and Sam Bankman with his last name doing this, it doesn't help. And also, like, I wonder, like, so America was not super exposed to this fraud. It mostly was popular overseas. So
Like Asia, right, was a big.
yeah, Asia and other markets. So I wonder if those customers will perceive it as another American scamming around the world, stealing all their money.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, what governments are gonna think. That's one thing. And the other thing, who got really hurt, whose reputation got really hurt by that, are YouTubers. There's a lot of financial YouTubers, and pretty much all of them were promoting FTX lately.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty insane because I was considering partnering with YouTubers for, like, to push my financial projects, and everybody is just promoting FTX. And I was like, how can I possibly compete for marketing dollars with a crypto exchange or like a bank or stuff like that. And yeah,
And not only YouTubers or bloggers, like like huge celebrities like Tom Brady.
oh
He was
yeah, I
promoting
think he
FTX
lost like
very-
600 million on that because he owned a lot of equity in FTX.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sure that was the case. Yeah, it's crazy, and I think he even got sued by a bunch of like people who
Yeah, they bought
affected by
a
that.
stadium in Miami,
FTX.
FTX
Yeah,
stadium.
Crypto.com owns rights for the
Yeah, but
stadium here in LA.
At
it's
least
still afloat.
Crypto.com is still.
I honestly, interestingly, I like the only thing that I know about Crypto.com
Is that
is
they own a stadium?
a stadium. That's it. I don't know anything else. About
I
that.
honestly never visited even this site.
Yeah, like I never went to the website.
Maybe it's popular. I don't know. I mean,
Overseas as well, maybe.
I see FTX everywhere. I downloaded it. I tried to submit my my ID and stuff, so they unlock it for you for FTX US. I couldn't do it, so it didn't work for me. So I got lucky, I guess.
Huh.
But yeah, a lot of YouTubers took a lot of money from them, and they were pushing FTX really hard, and their reputation is crumbling. I think it's going to be very hard to recover. A lot of YouTubers even deleting videos where they promoted FTX, and they're trying to sway it and push it under the rug. And I think it's gonna echo a lot in the financial YouTube space, because once you promote a scam where people potentially lost thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe some of them just like regular people trying to invest in crypto and stuff. And
I don't blame them, honestly. I mean, they couldn't possibly know that this is going to lead to this. Like, even if investors who had all the information or rights for the information and access to it to evaluate what was going on at the company, while it also clear now that SBF could go and back and had a backdoor in the accounting software and who could change the transactions that happened and backdate them. Like, even meaning that even if you got access to the financial information, it wasn't representing the truth. It wasn't representing and reflecting what transactions actually happened. So there's no possibly a way for those YouTubers and bloggers to know what was going on in reality with that company.
I watched the All In podcast with Chamath, and where he said that they were underwriting investing in FTX at some round, and so they underwritten it. And so what they proposed is to set up a governance and board of directors, and and told them that we're not going to invest, but here's our advice, and maybe next stage we can invest if you implement that. And he said that the person called them back from FTX and told them to get fucked.
Damn.
So I don't know how much due diligence all those funds did. Maybe it was just we're growing super fast. So remember, he started this FTX in 2019.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he went from zero to almost $40 billion.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of it was scam, and but still,
it was a crazy time. Like the past 2 years, 2020 and 2021 especially, investors were just jumping on deals, and it was more of a race to. It was also very competitive. It's if you didn't jump on this, and if it would take you too long time to do due diligence, someone else would take your place. So you would commit probably even before doing your own due diligence, which is kind of fucked up. But at the same time, you got to be competitive, and if you want to take the spot, you have to move quickly, which, as it shows, is not a good approach.
Not always, yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you're a savvy investor and you could see the numbers, that couldn't help you. But with YouTubers, yeah, I don't know. Somehow Elon Musk sniffed it out, right? So yeah, you probably seen those leaked messages between Elon and reporters and Elon and whenever they were raising funds. And
Elon and one of the manager at Morgan Stanley, I think, one of the VPs there.
Yeah, maybe. So they were like, "Oh, this guy Sam Bankman-Fried, he knows crypto and he made billions and that. He's very liquid. He can invest this much, and he wants to talk to." And he was like, "No, I don't believe he has that kind of money."
Yeah.
I don't know how he knew, how he sniffed it out.
I honestly, I think also, like, if you look closer at those messages, it says that so SBF wanted Twitter to transition into more of like the decentralized thing and use blockchain, and Musk said no, it's not possible. Like, Twitter can't do that because it's gonna be way too slow. But then he also said that.
Yeah, does he really have that money?
Does he really have like $5 billion?
Yeah.
He'd probably pay an FTT.
So that's probably was part of like how they envisioned it, right? He would probably pay an FTT or something.
Yeah, crazy.
Kind of insane. This whole thing is.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Musk and Twitter, I think that is also really interesting how it's rolling out.
Mm-hmm.
He fired a bunch of employees. I think Twitter now is at 700 employees, and it started with 2,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And recently, one of the pictures was posted by Elon Musk, where he basically it says the code review with Twitter team, and then there is him, and there's another guy that is doing selfie of Elon Musk and a bunch of other employees at Twitter, and it went viral. And the main thing is, a lot of people are commenting or saying that all those people that are in the picture, well, first of all, there's only one woman.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are just male-dominated team. And then the second thing is, people say that most of these guys are on work visa, H-1B, and they just couldn't leave, even if they wanted to, because they want to keep their job and legal status in the U.S. So I thought it was interesting. I don't know. I kind of feel it's like controversial for me. I'm sure it is exciting to at least try to work under Musk and see how, like, what's his management style is. Yeah, he gets a lot of critique right now. In my opinion, probably wouldn't be too popular, but I mean, at the end of the day, guy built like several successful multi-billion-dollar companies. He's the richest guy in the world. He's super smart. Clearly, he's onto something. He knows something. So I'm excited to see what it's gonna lead. I think Twitter would be, or he would improve Twitter significantly. It's probably gonna take years, but nevertheless, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and it kind of shows you the power of software and software-based businesses, especially if it's a pure software business, where you can lay off most of your team. Like how much he laid off, probably by 4 times, and probably they laid off a lot of contractors that are not on like payroll, but there's like thousands and thousands of people. Yeah. I mean, not even 1099s, but like companies in India, Pakistan, whatever big development shops are. Probably they shed a lot of those people, and still like Twitter hasn't suffered really.
Like it still works.
It's software, yeah.
Yeah.
I also heard that Twitter runs their own data centers, which is
interesting.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of discussions on in tech space, at least, that I heard, that should they move to AWS or some other Azure or GCP, because running your own data centers might have made a lot of sense back in 2000s. Right now,
it's very expensive.
It's very expensive. You have to have your own
warehouses, right? And
not just warehouses, but whole systems, so you can deploy on top of like those data centers, instead of just building on top of AWS, which is like everybody knows how to do that. So that is interesting too. He probably can shed a lot of people and like efforts and maintenance and costs in that space. Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter was built long time ago. Like AWS is not that old, and they had to do what they had to do. Right now, of course, times changed, and it doesn't make sense anymore. Or maybe that's for them. But yeah, Twitter is very interesting to look at. I think he posted that they had an uptick in even daily active users. So like you fire most of your team and the business keeps growing, which is
well, I think a lot of it has to do with the PR, right? Like people are just more curious and what's going on in Twitter, and definitely read more of like Musk's tweets, and just go and see go to the app and check out what's happening there. But well, we'll see if it's going to be happening in the long term as well, if it's sustainable, the user growth.
He launched a poll 2 days ago on should we reinstate Trump, and people in comments were like, Elon Musk just launched the biggest bot trap that ever existed, and he was like pointing out that that's what he was doing.
Holy! So he on purpose was trying to catch as many bots as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, because this poll was getting 1 million votes an hour. So and you can only vote once if you have an account. I don't know how many accounts are active, but like most of the accounts that probably voted on this are probably bots, and you can probably tell by looking at some data and the activities and stuff like that. So yeah, and it ended up being 52-48.
Yep.
Which I don't know, like, what do you think? How much on which sides?
I don't know.
The bots are.
And I think, and I don't have like a strong opinion on this or too much data to back it up, but I think there's a lot of bots were used by like Democrats, like Democratic Party. At least that's what people say. I have no idea. And yeah, as you said, like a lot of people, or the majority of, so 52% voted yes, and his account was actually reinstated. I don't know. Did you see that? Trump didn't tweet anything yet, but it got reinstated.
I think he said before that he's not gonna come back to Twitter
because
but he might have to. He just announced that he is launching a campaign 2024.
Yeah, because what's his the own app that he made?
True Social.
True Social.
Man.
True Social. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people on the app. And
mostly Republicans. Republicans only.
Yeah.
Or mostly.
Mostly, and Republicans and trolls. I don't know if he has potential, especially with. It could have potential until Elon Musk bought Twitter. I think if Twitter is gonna stay, like, as he claims, free speech, and everybody can speak on Twitter, there's no point in having True Social. So that's kind of a moat around the Twitter. If they can implement free speech. He also tweeted yesterday that he guarantees free speech but not free reach. Which I found interesting. So he is kind of saying that, okay, you can say anything, but we still will shadow ban you if we don't agree with you.
Well,
the don't agree bar is going to be lowered probably.
Yeah, like yes, if you promote like hate speech, then it's not going to be seen by many people.
But what is hate speech,
Yeah.
It's hard to define. There is certain hate speech that I think we can all agree on, but a lot of it is, it's hard to define. Like they would say that, I don't know, like a lot of things they would classify as hate speech. I don't want to give any examples, but it's like
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just ideological speech. They claim that's hate speech, but
Yeah, I think it's really really hard to define, and I don't think there is like a consensus that could be reached by everyone. It's always going to be like some group of people will always disagree,
mm-hmm.
and everyone has their own kind of definition, own borderlines of what is hate speech and what is not hate speech.
So before this discussion, we had an argument. So I was kind of saying that anybody who's claiming that they are gonna make billions of dollars and give it all away, and everybody's gonna be happy, and like, oh, I'm only driving Toyota Corolla, my old Toyota Corolla, and I'm a billionaire, and I live in a normal house. I was saying that it's a red flag and it's alert. You were disagreeing with me, so tell me why.
Yeah. No, I don't think, especially in the in the US, right? I don't think if you're super wealthy, I don't think you necessarily would be willing to, drive like a super fancy car here or have like a huge house.
I'm not even saying super fancy. I'm just saying like just buy a nice Mercedes. Like it doesn't have to be like
Yeah, but like if that person doesn't care, like what if like they literally don't care? They're okay with their
okay,
Corolla.
maybe a car. Like I mean, you're not gonna drive an old Corolla. What are the
Well,
things?
if he's fine with that, or if that person
it's not
is fine
reliable.
No, it is.
I mean,
It is the
it
most
is pretty
reliable.
reliable, but still, you kind of have to do a lot of things to it. And you probably, at this point, you probably need a driver because you're super busy. Like, why wouldn't you have a driver? Like, if you're running a company that's $40 billion, you probably have things to do rather than drives for hours.
But I doubt that you need to
He
drive.
has a
like,
private jet.
Yeah, like
So
if we're talking about SBF.
yeah, and living in a normal house, you're saying you don't have to live in a huge house.
Yeah, like Musk doesn't have a huge house. He sold all his properties.
He had a lot of them,
but he sold it.
but anyway, he just doesn't want you to know where he lives. That's the point. I think it's not the point that he's became frugal. He never claimed to become frugal. He just said he doesn't want to have a place where he lives all the time and for government to be able to like pinpoint him, because California tried to do that. Like, oh, you live here, you owe us money because you own houses here. That was the point. It wasn't the point that I'm frugal right now. Like, he's like, I live in a factory. That's different for me than like if SBF said I live in a FTX office and like I run my team very tight, but he was claiming complete opposite of that. He was like, oh, everybody can work from anywhere and like all that stuff. But
he did leave though a lot. Like I think when he started company in Hong Kong, he lived like in the office pretty much, or he would like sleep there a lot.
that's fine. But like I'm saying, you don't have to own the biggest house in the city. But the thing is, you cannot own a regular house either, because regular house is going to be located in a regular neighborhood. You cannot do it if you're if you are $20 billion. Like you'd have to like really build a moat around it and like.
But like, does Warren Buffett has that?
I don't think so. I mean, his house. They claim he's like, oh, very cheap house. I don't know. First of all, I don't know how many houses he has. Second of all, the house was very cheap, like 1,000 years ago when Warren Buffett was young.
It's appreciated a lot.
Yeah, it's probably like tens of millions right now, like the house worth.
Well,
so.
he has a special premium that people would be willing to pay for his house.
Anyway, I don't believe in that bullshit either. So he's like, oh, I'm drinking Coca-Cola and eating at McDonald's. Yeah, huh? Okay. Tell me about it. You're like, and you're 90-year-old.
He drinks Coke.
I don't believe it. I know. You know why he says it? Because he owns those companies. He's like, oh, it's good for you.
Yeah.
No,
for sure. I mean, he probably eats like a lot of other stuff, but like Coke, like a lot of people drink Coke.
I don't
a lot
think
of
he even
drink Coke.
Touches Coke ever.
No, I'm sure he drinks.
I'm calling bullshit on Warren Buffett. Yeah. I know he's an icon, and everybody's just like looking at his mouth and like everything's coming out of it is like gospel, but it's I don't believe him. Like,
can't ask him, unfortunately. Maybe we could. Maybe he'd respond to us. But no, I do think. I mean, a lot of and this is it's. I think what you're missing is like only recently this like whole wave of sustainability and like healthy lifestyle and how like soda is bad. Like only recently it started happening. Like before 2000s, you know, all this
among
people
it's,
drank that all the time. And so I think if you get in the habit of that, like
I don't think they
you're
drank
not
it all the time. I think like reasonable people were not drinking it all the time, and everybody else was just drinking it. I don't know. Like everybody's been watching their health actually better before than they do right now. So I don't know. Like we're getting fatter, we're getting lazier and stuff like that. There's more sugar in all of the food that we eat.
I mean, the quality of food definitely decreased.
So
No, but I would say like a lot of people used to smoke way more than they do now. You know, alcohol. I don't know. Okay, can't say too much about alcohol consumption, but I'm sure it was also very very high. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're a billionaire and driving old Corolla, there's something wrong with you, and you're claiming you want to make a lot of money and give it all away, and you giving it to like
to create perception that way. No, but I do think that depending on like founder type, some of them genuinely just wouldn't care. Like some of them are just would seem weird to normal people. To regular people, not normal, regular people.
I'm not saying he has to buy a lot of fancy watches and like, but at least dress nice. He was like beat down T-shirts that are like very like almost dirty and.
But
like
he doesn't care. Like he didn't really care. Like I don't know. Like you know, as they say, like Steve Jobs
I think it was all calculated.
Could have not taken showers for days and. You know, just work on one thing.
You know, whenever Steve Jobs was on TV and stuff, he was on point and he looked nice. And even though he was pretty simple, I think.
Look at Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg is
before this. You know, when he started. Okay, 3 years into his company.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at those videos. He's also like, you know, he was saying that he lived in. I don't know, 1-bedroom apartment, sleeping on the mattress with no bed frame, and he also did look like just a college kid back then. I don't know. I think what I agree that yes, there's certainly a degree, and it's calculated where he wanted to support his like brand image, you know, but. He was like, he was doing that stuff before, right? It's not that he downgraded. He was like driving something or like dressing nicely. It's like, okay, I'm going to create a perception or an image of myself where I'm like that tech founder and I am down to earth and I'm really close with the rest of the people. So I'm going to just, instead of dressing nicely, I'm going to wear this dirty t-shirt and shorts. I think he just decided to cap it because it was working in his favor. But yeah, but I don't know. I don't think I think he was okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was just playing a different game and claiming that he was playing the same game as with Fak he was playing. So let me explain. Every time I hear somebody saying like, "Oh, let's take it all from the rich and give it all away to the poor," it's not that they really care about the poor, it's that they are playing the power game. So they're trying to maximize the power aspect of it rather than money aspect, and that's what just the things they say. And I think with him it's the same thing. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money and just give it all away for good causes, and give all the money to me, and I'll just distribute it to the good cause." He was like, I don't know, climate. He was like Democrats. He's like zoning rules in San Francisco and like crime. So he was investing. I think he was funding the DEA campaign in San Francisco, the one that was like soft on crime and stuff. So he was doing a lot of those things where he was kind of creating this perception, but maybe he was just playing power game, like he wanted to get as much power in America as possible by donating millions and millions of dollars to.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's, if you're a businessman, that's kind of, I don't think it's your place to do it, really, like to take money from business and like try to gain power through.
Yeah, but you can view it as a marketing expense too.
Yeah, marketing. Yeah, I mean, lobbying
that's what it is.
Of course, kind of
Marketing, lobbying. I don't know. There are definitely certain things that he could have done differently, but I agree with you that when someone does it too much or like too aggressively, it creates suspicion.
Yeah, in regular life, and not talking billions of dollars, and Silicon Valley tech founders that are unusual, as you said, but even in regular life, somebody would come up to me and be like, "Oh, I'm making like $100,000 a month, doing this and this," and they would look like he looked. I would be like, "Okay, bro."
So you're saying because he's not dressed nicely, or because he doesn't have?
Yeah, it doesn't look nice. Doesn't.
Dude, I don't know. I
driving
mean,
Corolla.
I think you're actually thinking in more in LA terms.
Yeah,
I think if you
maybe.
go to Silicon Valley, and
At least you're gonna be dressed nice. I don't know. Like,
no, not at all. I mean, if you have, dress nicely. Yeah, it's like if you I think you gotta look clean. You don't have to look like a bum for sure.
He looked like a complete bum, though.
Yeah, it's kind of effed up, but I think in Silicon Valley the culture is the opposite of LA, where there's like so many wealthy people that don't actually try to show off as they do here in LA. That in let me finish that in Silicon Valley it's almost like if you're wearing a Rolex or something, or if you have like drive too fancy car in the city, then you're like, why are you doing this? That's not cool. Like it ain't cool. Like you're too try to be too shiny or try to stand off. But there's like so many wealthy people here with like really high salaries, and like it doesn't mean like I could do the same thing as you are. Like I can go. They probably thinking I can buy a Rolex tomorrow or today. I can buy a nice car tomorrow. But because people don't do it there, they're fine. It's more about perception that you can do it, but you don't.
See, I think it's more of like San Francisco is paper money, like paper gains and all. Like they might be wealthy, but not really, and the costs there are just insane. Where LA is like drug money, and they're just wasting it.
You think LA is drug money mostly?
Yeah, for sure.
But like no, but also like even media and
media kind of calls you to like be flashy.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta be flashy. You gotta look good. Media and fashion. That's what it's all about. And especially this fake it till you make it culture here is huge, right? So I think LA is definitely more of what do you call it? Fits more of like a stigma of like a rich person that lives in a developing country, let's say, where they're making a lot of money, and as they say, for example, in Russia, how to translate that stuff. But basically, what's even more important than money is giving the perception that you're rich to the other people, right? Than how much you actually have. So that's why you gotta like show off. You gotta have a nice car. People respect you for being wealthy, and like also it doesn't matter how you made your money, right? And they respect you more just because you're wealthy, rather than, I would say here people, yes, they respect you if you're wealthy, but they would respect you way more if you made your wealth in like clean and more like noble way, where you build like a company that is like doing some cool
It's helping
business.
everybody and taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. Okay. And then it explodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Okay. It's good to disagree sometimes. I think it's a major red flag if like you're trying to create too clean of the perception and trying to seem like for the people and stuff like that when you're a billionaire. There's just something has to give, like you cannot live a normal person life if you're a billionaire. That's not efficient, I'd say, for you to live like a normal person. You have to have a driver, you have to have an assistant,
But like that's
you
why
have to have a huge house because you have to be safe in.
Yeah, with the house thing, I think it makes sense. But he did have a private jet though.
Probably on FTX and on customers' money.
For sure. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think we can give a more information once we get to the point.
Yeah.
And leaf through it.
Luckily, we didn't lose any money, so we have to, we can speak freely on that and like no hard feelings. But a lot of people are really hurt. So for anybody, just subscribe to the DNA Money, and we're gonna push more videos and talk about more interesting topics in the future. Like, subscribe. Bye.
Awesome.